Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I became advanced and near fluent in the Spanish language. I've always been fascinated by the Spanish language, culture, and their people. So 4 months ago, I decided to plunge right in and learn the language seriously, and finally accomplish one of my life goals. In 4 months, I became advanced and near fluent in speaking Spanish. Here are some of the techniques and the strategies that I used to learn Spanish. The first technique is Full-Immersion Intake. The first step to becoming advanced or near fluent in the Spanish language is to fully immerse yourself with the language and the culture. Now, I live in the United States and I'm unable to go somewhere and surround myself with the Spanish language. So I have to make do with what I have. So what I call full immersion intake is to take all of the things that I take in and switch them over to the Spanish language. What this means is I will take all my devices, all of my entertainment, and all the things that I like to do and to intake into my mind and make them into the Spanish language. For example, on my cell phone, my tablet, and my laptop, I've changed the configuration so that all of the words are in Spanish. Also, I stopped listening to music that was in English. I listened only to music that was in Spanish. And in the description below, I'll put all the different music and the music artists that I listen to help me learn Spanish. Also, I consume a lot of content on YouTube. I try to look for all the shows and the channels that would give the same information, but in Spanish. I love watching football highlights, NFL football highlights. As you can see, I'm a Seahawks fan. In order to get these highlights, I would go to the NFL.com app or the YouTube channel for the NFL. However, there are separate channels that have NFL highlights, NFL game highlights that are specifically in the Spanish language. This is one way where I was able to take in entertainment and gain the content that I desired in the Spanish language. This also applies to watching movies and Netflix at home. If you're watching shows or movies, in the beginning, you may want to turn on the English subtitles, but listening to it and changing the language in Spanish will help you become more of an effective listener to native Spanish speakers, and in turn will help you speak more like a native as well. Thirdly, everything that I had to write down to remember, I wrote it in Spanish. I have a daily planner, and each day that I write in my daily planner, instead of writing in English, I would write down, eat with a friend, go grocery shopping, go out to eat. All of these different things that I wrote down in my daily planner would be in Spanish. The repetition after a few weeks became long-term memory, and it would be an effective way to learn and memorize vocabulary. Also, if I was writing notes or a grocery list, I would write everything down in Spanish so that it would be repeated and that I would act as though I'm immersing myself in the Spanish language. Now, cell phone apps. I would say most of my growth has come from learning Spanish through these 5 different cell phone apps. I have an iPhone, and most of these apps come also in Android. Typically, people will say that Duolingo is the best app to learn the Spanish language. It's the most advertised and marketed on your cell phone. However, Duolingo is not on my top 5 list. Number 1 on my list, the one that I use the most, is the Pimsleur app. The Pimsleur app uses something called spaced repetition. A native speaker will say something within a conversation, and there will be some space left so that you can repeat what the native speaker said, and it would be a part of a real, natural conversation. This app has helped me because it goes from beginner to advanced Spanish speaking. The only thing with this app is you have to stay continuously on this app every single day. There are no skip days. You're able to do that. One lesson plays into the next lesson and you continue to grow. And as you repeat these conversations, it comes into your long-term memory. All of it is done via audio recordings, not video. So you're able to use this app on your commute or when you're doing chores and you say them out loud. Number 2 cell phone app is Closemaster. Closemaster is a great app to increase your vocabulary. It's an app that has vocabulary, words, and phrases, and it puts it in a format as though you're playing a video game. When you play the game, you earn points and you earn rewards. My favorite procrastination app, I typically open up this app so that I can retain and gain new vocabulary. App number 3 is Google Translate. Now, I love Google Translate simply because it helps you speak more like a natural Spanish speaker. Typically, when you use Google Translate, you will put in a Spanish phrase and it will translate it into English. Clicking the reverse button twice, what it will do is take your Spanish and make it more like a native speaker's. I love Google Translate because you can put in sentences and phrases and it'll translate it for you. But what I would recommend is to never exceed more than 2 to 3 sentences. Take it into small bits and pieces so that you know that Google Translate is saying exactly what you want to say. The 4th cell phone app is called Language Transfer. I love Language Transfer because it's as though you're sitting in a classroom and you have a personal tutor. This app has recordings of a teacher who is teaching another individual from scratch how to learn the Spanish language. What I really love about this app, it just doesn't tell you what to do, but it tells you why Spanish is spoken in a certain way. It gives you the philosophy behind the Spanish language, which helps you in turn formulate Spanish more naturally in your mind. It helps you to see the different patterns, the different structures of the language so that you're able to use these structures to formulate phrases, sentences, and eventually conversations in Spanish. I really like this because it sounds more personal and it also is not typical to learning in a classroom setting. 5th cell phone app is the app Tandem. Tandem is a language exchange app where you're able to find numerous people who want to learn your language and in turn you learn their language. Sign in, log in, get approved for an account, and once you're approved, it's really easy to find somebody, a partner, that will exchange Spanish in return for your language, whether it's English or not. It's really cool because you're able to text them, send audio files, but also video call them if you get to that point so that you can practice Spanish. I would say maybe you want to explore a little bit around, but don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged when you have a conversation with someone that lasts 2 days, or 3 days, or 4 days. The most that you'll have, most likely, is about 2 weeks unless you're really good at starting conversations and you have interesting topics to talk about. If not, then you can make new friends and at least get good at introducing yourself, speaking about yourself, and asking introductory questions so that you can get into more longer form conversations. Once again, Tandem has been a great app. There's another app that's called Hello Talk, but I prefer Tandem because Tandem I feel is more for serious Spanish learners. Now we're gonna go into learning from actual practitioners. This has been priceless for me and has been the driving motivation to help me become advanced, near fluent in Spanish. I'm gonna speak to you about 3 particular YouTube channels where they are walking in the same journey that you and I may be walking in to learn Spanish from 0 to advanced or fluent. The YouTube channels that I would recommend are number 1, Mike Ben, his YouTube channel. He's a teacher and during the time of COVID, he really spent about a year to learn the Spanish language, and his tips and his tricks and his journey is informative. It's educational, it's interesting, and it's really motivating. So I would recommend check out Mike Ben. The second person is Where's Wes. Where's Wes is a YouTuber as well. He's a Chinese person that lives in Colombia. It's really cool because he's also now married to a Colombian woman and he has a home in Colombia and he does music as well. Very interesting. He talks about some of the recent events. He talks about the culture. He talks about dating. He talks about really cool topics, and he's someone that's learned Spanish while he was in Colombia. Really motivating, really cool, really fun. You gotta check out his page. The third person is Maddie Gold. Maddie Gold is someone who I found recently on YouTube. She moved to Mexico, and as she's living in Mexico, I think she's a vlogger, and she's vlogging about her life in Mexico, on thinking about buying a home in Mexico, the food and the culture, and she's really out there just engulfed in the Mexican culture. I really love this because she's just so hungry to learn the Spanish language, and she puts herself out there. She was recently at a polyglot conference where there was a bunch of polyglots, or people who speak multiple languages, and they were all YouTubers and podcasters. And really, she was asking questions, and she was trying to really help people who want to learn Spanish, asking the professionals about their tips and tricks to become better at Spanish. She's really, really great, really fun and easy to listen to. Maddie Gold, you gotta check her out. Now, this one's a little bit more practical. It's speaking Spanish out loud every day. Number one, when I'm using the Pimsleur app, I legitimately speak as loud as I can. There may be times where someone on your commute is looking at you because it looks like you're shouting or having a conversation really intensely with someone, but saying it out loud like that helps you to be more confident as a Spanish speaker, and it also gives you the muscle memory for your mouth and your lips to speak that Spanish. The recommendation is to speak loud every day when you're using the Pimsleur app. Another recommendation I have is to read books out loud. Now, in the description below, I'll give you some samples of books that I've read out loud, and it's been very, very helpful for me, not only to learn vocabulary, but also to have a fluid way of speaking. Instead of speaking in little chunks, when you're reading, it helps you become more fluent and more natural as a Spanish speaker. There was some advice that I got from Mike Ben. When he was interested in a topic and he would look at Google, instead of typing in English, he would type the topic in Spanish, find articles, and he would read out loud the articles in Spanish. He would do this while he was waiting for somebody or while he was waiting for an appointment. And I think it's solid advice because you want to be reading something out loud that interests you, not just short stories, but things that really, really interest you, because that's going to help you retain motivation to continue to read and grow. Also, I think it's very important to read out loud vocabulary that you wish to memorize. I have a list of flashcards. These flashcards that I use, they're words and phrases that I think are common and words that I want to use. And when I practice them, typically I'll either scroll on my phone or take out the flashcards and I will speak them out loud. When I speak them out loud, nearly 100 times, it helps it get jogged into my long-term memory. Once it's logged in there, then I actually have more access to use that word when I'm having conversations with Spanish-speaking people. All right, finally, number 5 is practice grammar. The reason why practicing grammar is important, I think, is because it helps you get from the intermediate to the advanced level. A beginner or someone that's intermediate will only be able to speak in the present and the past tense. But an advanced speaker will be able to speak and know when to speak in the past, present, also the continuous, and the future tense as well. And this is where grammar comes in. You can't end all of your verbs with O. You have to be able to differentiate the different tenses. So my recommendation is to get a book that's called Madrigal's Magic Method. If you get that, you can find that on Amazon. I think it's like $15 or so. I'll put a link below in the description. It's such a great book. It's a really, really great companion book for language transfer. They use similar methods, but now you have one on paper. What I love about this grammar book is that it starts in the past tense so that you kind of get to know the richness of the Spanish language, where you're able to tell stories or tell an account, and then it goes into the present where you're able to describe things in the present time. This book is also really good because it has a lot of different exercises that lets you repeat over and over and over and over again. And as you repeat them, it just becomes natural and you get to speak them and become more fluent. I would recommend that you use this book when you have a quiet time to study to really, really soak it in. Buy it hard copy so that you can pencil it in and write it down, and have a notebook so that you can write down the sentences in the exercises that they request of you. One way that I learned grammar is from a YouTuber named Anna, and her channel is called Butterfly Spanish. She is a tremendous, tremendous teacher. She's really, really down to earth, really funny, really cool, but also she's able to explain grammar so clearly. I really give a lot of credit to Ana for learning the past tense, decir, lo que, the difference between ser and estar. I've just soaked in all of her material, and there's no question why she has so many subscribers. If you want to get to an advanced level, you gotta check out Butterfly Spanish. It's so good. The last resource I'll share regarding Spanish grammar is a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is simple. It's called Learn Spanish. Learn Spanish is really cool because it breaks down one particular grammar topic into bite-sized pieces for you to remember well. This, along with Butterfly Spanish, have numerous lessons on grammar, and they'll be priceless resources for you to become advanced and near fluent in Spanish as well. Alright, this wraps up how I became advanced and near fluent in Spanish just in 4 months. Now, I really put a lot of work into it, and I really spent many hours as I could, soaking in all of these resources and using these techniques and these tips and tricks. But in 4 months using these techniques, I can confidently say that I will be able to hold my own the next time that I go into a Spanish-speaking country. I really hope this video was valuable to you. If it was, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, share this video, push the like, or even leave a comment. I really appreciate you. I'm hoping this channel will help us learn Spanish together.